Getting a Happy Meal at McDonald's as a kid felt like one of the best moments. Opening the box to find the toy inside was like Christmas morning. But let me tell you, not every idea was a Happy Meal. Here's our list of the 20 most disappointing UN Happy Meals in McDonald's history. Let's start with one of the earliest McDonald's entries that you would find alongside your Happy Meal. The Tickle Feather Sponge wasn't really a toy per se, but it was still one of the first things they gave you. The off thing about this toy is that it is literally just one of those cartoonish devices you would see in Tom and Jerry that characters use to absolutely ruin someone's day by tickling them. Plus, this thing was abrasive, so it really got to work and not in a fun way, despite the laughs you would hear. Also, the novelty factor kind of got old pretty fast, and you know how kids can be. They need something to keep their brains glued for a long time. Things get old fast, and a sponge that's only good for tickling people gets old even faster. So it isn't really any major surprise that this was a decent-sized flop for them. The next thing we're going to move on to is the Ronald McDonald sunglasses. In hindsight, this should work. It's Ronald McDonald, it's merch that comes alongside a burger and fries, plus it's a collectible. So by all means, the goopy goblin brain that dominates the mindset of your average 5-year-old should have been pleased. Except this thing looked beyond creepy and in the worst way possible. Some things are aesthetically creepy, you know? They look scary or off-putting, but in a nice-to-look-at way. This thing was just flat-out ugly and unappealing, like nobody wanted to wear it. Kids were pretty bummed out when they saw a pair of these horrid glasses pop out of their Happy Meal, because what they really wanted was a cool action figure, not shades that no one from 482 would wear. Another pretty early take on striking that fine line between quirky, advertisable, appealing, and fun for children were the Camp McDonaldland Camp Gear toys. Now, to be fair, that is a hard line to walk, but these people didn't even attempt to. Whatever was going on inside the creative room, the day these were given the green light is beyond me, and probably beyond you too. See, when you're a kid, the last thing that gets you jumping out of your chair in excitement is the prospect of gardening. You can probably tell that they missed the mark badly with the target audience for this one, because not only was the idea inherently unattractive, but the execution was too. These were just plastic toys, small ones, like a shove, bucket, and a plower, alongside your usual Happy Meal. Kids got bored extra fast, and the camping gear did not last long at all. Speaking of dull, plain, and boring, how do you make that description sound even worse? Somehow, the McDonald's character glove puppets came up with an incredible answer. Be all of that, plus also be very unsafe and an obvious choking hazard, since you know you're marketing this stuff to children that can't even be trusted around mud. Seriously, kids in the 80s and 90s would eat mud, paper, even days-old food, so what made them think they wouldn't try gobbling a glove? Glove is a generous term for what were actually just these cheap, lazy plastic bags with characters from the restaurant drawn over them. Shockingly entertaining, right? Yeah, this one lasted seconds with the children. Of all the things to pick for a Happy Meal, which is again targeted at literal children, why would an incredibly successful multi-millionaire franchise pick toothpaste and toothbrush? Not a toy version, not some cheeky advertising, but literal toothpastes and brushes alongside a burger, fries, and soda that stains your teeth. Am I the only one seeing the irony here, or is it echoing throughout the rest of the room too? Either way, I'm not sure if this one needs any explanation, since you all can probably guess how badly this must have performed. Kids went from happy to unhappy real fast when they popped open their meal to see Dental Hygiene 101 waiting for them, as if they did not hear about it enough from their parents. Funnily enough, it motivated a grand total of 0 kids to actually implement better brushing habits too. It definitely did tank sales for a while though, so I guess it was smart to pull it out early. Damage control, right? The worst thing about Popoids was that it really was just a poor man's Lego set. If you could not get a proper Lego set either because your parents did not want you fiddling around with tiny, swallowable plastic parts, then you were just out of luck. Maybe McDonald's thought there was an untapped market, a demographic they had not touched yet in cases like that. Kids longing for Legos but never getting any, so why not ease their woes by including some Popoids as a Happy Meal toy? except these were discount Legos in every sense of the word. It was just 3 pieces of interconnecting plastic that could not be shaped into much, and when it was, it did not resemble anything either. At least Legos let you make Darth Vader's ship or something. If you have a bit of a sharper eye, you might notice the problem with a lot of the toys we talk about. For example, with the Michael Jordan Fitness Fun toys, instead of leaning into McDonald's identity as a fast food giant, they try to paint it as something it isn't. See, McDonald's is not healthy, nor is it good for you. It's fatty, greasy food that you should ideally be eating once a week, but it's also comfort food that lots of people have grown up with. When they launched the Michael Jordan Fitness Fun toys as part of some of their earliest partnership deals with professional athletes, they tried to move away from that image. McDonald's was getting decent flack for encouraging horrible diet habits in children, so it wanted to partner up with the face of fitness itself at the time. Its idea was a bad jump rope, a really funky watch, and a frisbee with Jordan's face. McDonald's would not let go of this idea, though. It definitely did want to shake off the unhealthy stigma that was attached to the company. Hence, it came up with the Step It toys. These were basically fitness trackers with neon wraps that you could wear that actually had some basic features and easy controls. However, a lot of critics still did not ease up on Ronald McDonald, claiming that stunts like these were a cheap ploy to draw people's attention away from how unhealthy McDonald's really was for kids. Eventually, they were recalled and discontinued after several customers reported skin irritation from prolonged use. Guess they really need to up the standard on the materials they use for these toys. In hindsight, the 101 Dalmatians set was one of their better ideas, just done poorly. It involved 101 literal collectible Dalmatians that you could keep gathering for an entire set, except the problem was that it was extremely unrealistic. Think about it. To do that, you would have to eat McDonald's 101 times, assuming you get a different Dalmatian each time, which you won't, in the short time period where this promotion was running. Some people did get lucky, though they were obviously dedicated, and now they can profit off the collection very nicely. It's considered one of their rarest Happy Meal toy sets, and it goes for several hundreds of dollars if you have a complete set. However, the joy of Happy Meals was collecting different sets of toys, which was easy if there was a reasonable amount. If they even did something like 10 Dalmatians per Happy Meal, then it would be a lot more achievable for most kids. This one was a real doozy. Hello Kitty's a brand worth working with, right? Gets the kids, gets the girls, doubles as a niche fun internet trend. Bit of a mainstream one now, though. At least that's what I imagine McDonald's was thinking when it came out with the Hello Kitty whistle toys, but this time they had the concept and execution down pretty well. The part where they went awfully wrong was in the assembling and manufacturing. These little whistles had detachable parts, and they also had lead paint in them, which was known for causing severe health hazards. The parts were often dangerous too because, while blowing the whistle, kids could accidentally suck a part in and swallow it, and mind you, 2.5 million units of these were sold. At least 2 cases were reported, and it ended up with McDonald's having to recall these items, which was a massive corporate fiasco. Safe to say, that was one collectively unhappy meal. The McDonald's airport toys were actually not too bad, but they were just really uninspiring as far as airplanes go. You have a vehicle whose entire MO is flying, and all you make is a rough outline of it with different colors? That kind of stuff doesn't last long in the unforgiving world of children's toys, where even the best player in the market can be a loser in as little as half a day. They offered 5 planes with this lineup: the Grimace biplane, which was hot pink, the Birdie Bentwing Blazer, the Fry Guy Flyer, the Big Mac helicopter, and the Ronald Seaplane. They did well enough, at least if the standard you hold them to is everything else on this list, but compared to actual successful McDonald's toys, they performed pretty poorly. Maybe if they actually flew for a bit, they'd have been more fun to keep. The Mighty Duck Pucks were a McDonald's set that came out in the 1990s, and they were actually another one of McDonald's famous franchise deals. The Mighty Ducks was this really popular animated show that was reigning the TV ratings at the time, and each toy was designed to look like a plastic puck with added features. Some of these could move, some of them could shoot hockey sticks out, and some of them had wheels. Maybe they took some notes from their past works and realized that interactive elements are the way to go, but they still couldn't succeed in making toy lines that retained the attention of a child. As a result, this one tanked too. Kids grow up sooner rather than later, and maybe incorporating fun parts of adult life, like keeping a wallet, is a good way to prepare them for their 20s. Maybe that's what McDonald's was brainstorming when it came up with the McWrist Wallet, which was this strap-on wearable wallet that could carry around coins and tiny items. This is arguably still one of the better ones on the list, performance-wise too. It did not really have the star power of, let's say, the Power Rangers collab that McDonald's did in the same era, but it was all right. Some kids really enjoyed having a wearable wallet, and some, despite it not lasting too long, it was a small little droplet of pop culture in the 90s. Nothing more and nothing less, which is kind of refreshing after the train wrecks we've experienced on the list so far. Speaking of collaborations, one of the most iconic ones for any fast food chains are the Minions. I don't think anybody really had the foresight to predict the cultural shock that a yellow-colored popsicle-looking Pikachu relative would have, but here we are nonetheless. McDonald's is always one to capitalize, and you bet they rolled out a line of Minion Happy Meal toys as soon as they got the brand deal signed. Unfortunately, they started receiving nasty complaints from parents about how some of their Minions were cursing and swearing. That's an extremely bad look for a franchise centered around kids' food, so they pulled the plug on it pretty quick. Still, it was pretty funny if you got one that spoke vulgarly. Of all the things you would find at the heart of constant legal issues, teeny Beanie Babies is probably the last one you would imagine, if you even imagined it at all. McDonald's came out with these from 1997 to 2000, and their best year was definitely 1998. They had a strong start, but things took a violent turn when these toys were the cause of a lot of violence and fights. In Miami, an employee was charged with stealing the toys, and customers often fought over them. There were only 10 of them, and remember how we talked about how people get much more motivated to collect sets of Happy Meal toys when it's a digestible number, like 10? Yeah, that motivation gets out of hand sometimes. Personally, I can't see the appeal in fighting for these, but to each their own hill to die or commit assault on. At least the kids were content with them for a year or two, even if their popularity kept declining. The operative word in the phrase Happy Meal toy is toy. You expect a tangible, physical toy that you can play and interact with, which is why kids were so disheartened when they found limited edition ET posters in their Happy Meal as a part of a brand deal with the movie. The thing is, despite being limited edition, these just did not look good. Also, the movie is literally about aliens, and they could have gone with absolutely anything else for this except posters. A freaky bobblehead, a glow-in-the-dark ET figure, something besides posters that any kid would feel embarrassed about hanging up. In that era, you'd walk into a child's room and see a poster of their favorite rock band or Hollywood actress, not ET of all things. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was a letdown in more ways than one, and McDonald's only made it worse with their toy line aimed at girls. The boys got these cool Spidey action figures and accessories which featured elements from the movie like Jamie Foxx's Electro. The girls, however, got really generic things like mirrors and purses and Spider-Man-themed tokens that were colored pink. They also picked a horrible character to do the classic gender stereotyping with, since Spidey's entire brand is being your friendly neighborhood guy, and last I checked, neighborhoods have girls in them too. He's popular because he's a loving, accepting, non-judgmental goof. That really was not the sentiment they put out with this toy line, and it got really bad backlash on social media too. Needless to say, PR mop-ups were conducted and the line was pulled fast. The American Idol microphone toy line also did not do really well. This one was plagued by the same flaw that so many others on this list are. Once you open the meal and see the toy, the entire wow factor really just goes away. There's no replay value, nothing to keep you coming back. They were just sparkly microphones that did not do anything, and kids really wanted interactive toys. In fact, most of their best-selling toy promotions were the ones that kids could actually play with in some shape or form. Even though they were targeted to girls, they did not really do well with that crowd either. Plus, if somebody wanted to feel like they were on American Idol, They'd just grab a shower brush and start singing in the bath like a normal person. Nobody used these microphones like that. So the Inspector Gadget toys are a funny one. They kind of nail the problem of a toy not being interactive enough, but there is also such a thing as too much. An excess amount of a good thing makes it a bad thing. Simple math, right? Not simple enough for the company when they put this line of toys out. These were toys that were split into different parts that once gathered could fully assemble a figure of Inspector Gadget. It's just that the parts were really hard to collect. Sometimes the meals would be missing key ones. The figure itself was unnecessarily difficult to assemble, especially since it was aimed at children who became frustrated as they couldn't experience the satisfaction of completing it. The last thing on the list is the Sky Dancer toys that came out in 2000. Funnily enough, they fixed the problem with the Inspector Gadget toys too. McDonald's hit the fine line between interactive, fun, and replayable for once, but it managed to miss safety. These toys had this pull string mechanism that let them spin and fly, but it also meant that they were a safety risk in the hands of children. Parents would call in complaining about how the toys were always injuring their kids and they could not leave them alone with them, and so the promotion got a knack for being unsafe. As a result, McDonald's recalled several units and discontinued the line. Why is it so hard for them to take one step forward without taking 2 or 3 steps back? And there you have it, 20 McDonald's toy fails that left us scratching our heads. Which one did you think was the worst? Remember to like and subscribe for more historical stories.